Chapter 2. Deep Listening. Let's delve into the concept of deep listening. The context of listening within Colleague is threefold. First, listening is a crucial muscle in a group of peers. Our ability to grow through a process of shared learning with colleagues is closely linked to our capacity to listen to them. Second, listening is a central skill in dealing with adaptive challenges. When we're in technical problem-solving mode, our tendency is to be highly efficient, hearing only the minimum required to make a decision. What do we do to make quick decisions? We reduce the number of participants in meetings. Dealing with adaptive challenges isn't about finding a solution, but engaging in a process that requires radical communication and agile progress from point to point, all of which demand advanced listening. Third, we're dealing with leadership, leading people, and our gravitational pull. Our underlying assumptions about this role are that leadership is an active endeavor, that one must act to lead, and that listening is passive compared to speaking, which is active. We want to challenge these two basic assumptions. Firstly, leadership can come from a place of silence, inner strength, and observation. Additionally, deep listening involves active effort and control. Sometimes it requires real exertion. We all know those dialogues where two people impatiently wait for their turn to speak, and when their turn comes, they'll do anything not to relinquish it. Familiar, right? Have you noticed that while the person in front of you is speaking, instead of truly listening, you're busy preparing your response to what you assume they'll say? Often, we can see in the listener's body language that they're just waiting for the speaker to make the mistake of pausing for breath so they can seize the speaking baton and hold on to it tightly. This turns conversations into battlefields centered on the struggle for the right to speak. That's why, when we're denied the chance to speak for too long, we feel the need throughout our bodies. We become tense and irritable because the important things we have to say are poised on the tip of our tongues, ready to burst into the room. Obviously, in such a tense state, the last thing we're doing is listening. The difficulty in fostering genuine listening is also tied to emotional components and the emotional dynamics between the speaker and listener. For example, our need to speak is related to our fear of silence. Silence is often unbearable for many of us. It floods us with feelings like anxiety and guilt, triggering an almost uncontrollable urge to speak. Or consider when the conversation's content is too challenging for us because the speaker is sharing an unpleasant experience they've had. Most of us immediately feel the need to comfort, help, or encourage them. This happens because the alternative is simply to be with them in that difficult moment. And for some of us, that's almost impossible. So our tendency is to try to rescue them from the situation, so we don't have to experience it with them. Sometimes, over-identification with our opinions causes us to confuse our sense of self with our viewpoints. Consequently, anyone who challenges our positions is perceived as attacking us personally, which is a very unpleasant experience. We might be so attached to our opinion that the thought of parting with it induces near-death anxiety. Therefore, we continue to argue our point repeatedly, under the illusion that if the other person just understands what we're saying, they'll agree with us, a scenario that almost never happens. Professor Otto Scharmer from MIT, who developed Theory U, parts of which we touch upon in the program, divided listening into 4 levels. At the first level, called downloading or confirming listening, we listen to affirm what we already know and believe. Imagine being inside a bubble, surrounded by all your acquired knowledge and beliefs. Confirming listening happens from the center of this bubble, allowing only data that supports what you already think to penetrate, while data that challenges it remains outside. This is the most primitive form of listening, where our consciousness is in self-preservation mode. Such listening often occurs in conversations where everyone speaks from what they all want to hear, confirming what they already know. In these polite and agreeable discussions, people stay within their bubbles without being prompted to break out of them. You're likely to leave such discussions exactly as you entered. The second level is factual listening, or diagnostic listening. Here, we allow our minds to be open to data and opinions that are different from our own, intending to confront them. We move from the center of our knowledge bubble to its surface, creating an opening to look outside. This listening results in learning new information that doesn't necessarily align with our existing views. Sharma explains that to achieve this, we need an open mind, setting aside our defenses and the voice of judgment to learn from others. A classic example is scientific thinking, which relies on establishing and refuting facts, a process essential for innovation. This type of listening often occurs in debates where participants are in confrontation, striving to defend their positions. They operate under the assumption that my opinion is me, so if someone disagrees, it's a personal threat, prompting resistance and defense. In such discussions, you might learn new facts or perspectives that challenge your fundamental assumptions. The third level is empathetic listening. At this stage, we manage to see reality through the eyes of the other person. We leave the safety of our own bubble and enter someone else's, able, even if just for a moment, to see and feel what they do. Achieving this requires an open heart, setting aside cynicism, and allowing ourselves a genuine emotional connection with the speaker, one that endures even after the dialogue ends. Empathetic listening happens in true dialogues where participants ask sincere questions out of a genuine desire to understand each other's perspectives and authentically explore why the other thinks differently. Transitioning from debate to dialogue involves moving from "my opinion is me" to "I have an opinion and I can view it from someone else's perspective." In such discussions, you'll be able to see reality from another stakeholder's point of view. The fourth level is generative listening. At this highest level, we can connect to a possible future that can emerge in the speaker. Achieving this requires an open will, setting aside the fear of unknown changes and being able to let go and let come. Open will involves our willingness to change, to part with opinions, facts, beliefs, and perceptions we've held, and to connect with something new that's beginning to emerge. In this type of listening, neither of us is confined within our own bubbles. Instead, we're together in a new shared space we've created, a space where our potential shared future can be born. Generative listening occurs in collaborative and creative fields where something new begins to emerge, bringing participants closer to their desired shared future. In such discussions, you'll feel a heightened clarity as something new is born, often energizing and inspiring participants to enact change.